I did it, I'm here. Oh my goodness. There's some serious spiritual warfare going on with getting this video recorded and getting this out to you. And it was children needing me one day, my schedule the other day. Today it was technology. We've got different people doing different Zooms and I thought I had a clear window and then I had to switch devices. Oh my goodness. I am so sorry, but I'm glad to jump on because this has been on my heart for a while. And I kind of have some ideas swimming around about ways to help all you new mamas. So we'll talk about that in the coming days, and that's why I stuck the poll up today. If you are new to homeschooling for whatever reason, it is especially important that you answer the poll that I posted about an hour ago. The rest of you, I really want you to answer that poll too, because that will help me, figure out other ways to serve you. Hi, Iris. So here's what I want to talk about today really quickly, because I am in a parking lot. I'm not driving, but I am in my car. This is the only way I could do this. And I'm on my way to do errands for my elderly parents in this crazy time. But I really, really, really wanted to come on and talk to all you mamas who are just, okay, what do I do? I have no clue. Because my heart is with you and I know that this is overwhelming and there's so many choices and so many decisions that you have to make as a mom, as a homeschool mom. It can be quite overwhelming. And we've been doing our part in the group to just provide all the information that we can. And I've been trying really hard to keep it kind of orderly and focused so that you don't get too terribly overwhelmed maybe, but I know it's still a lot. So in answer to the question, I know I want to homeschool, but what do I do first? The answer is you pray. And then after that, you pray some more. And then after that, you pray some more. There is no way that we can do this without God. It is a big job. It is a tough job. Momming is a tough job enough. And we need God for all of that. You need God in all of the homeschooling too. So please pray. Please find a saint or a time of day or set an alarm on your phone or a particular prayer to the Holy Spirit or about education or about teachers or whatever it is for your children. For you, just begin praying regularly, every day, if you're not already, about this homeschooling journey, because I promise you the grace will come from that. 5 things. That's what I'm going to go after the prayer. And then the prayer is like all the time, right? So you're praying throughout. First thing you really need to do if you've decided to homeschool and you know this is what we're going to do, whatever your emotions are about it, if you've decided with your husband, this is what we're going to do this year, the first thing you need to do is figure out why and what your goal is. And it can be very simple. Your why can be because of the pandemic and I have no idea what the school year is going to be like and I want my kids to have some consistency. Your goal can be to help them continue in their education so they can get back to school the next year. Maybe you are new and starting with a little one who's just starting kindergarten and you're going to try this year. You're going to try homeschooling. You're going to see how it goes. And your why might be because homeschooling is important to my family. We've always talked about doing this and this is, what we want to do. And your goal might be, to encourage the love of the true, the good, and the beautiful. Your goal might be to serve your child's needs spiritually, emotionally, academically, that they might have some special needs in those areas. Your goal might just be to be united as a family and to spend more time together. Lots of goals and whys to homeschooling. But think about yours. Because as you go through and you have to make decisions, if you don't figure out ahead of time why you're homeschooling and what you want to accomplish, it's going to be much harder to make all the decisions. So we did a whole Zoom call on why we homeschool, and a bunch of us shared why we started homeschooling and why we kept homeschooling, because your why changes over time. You might find out you're committing to 1 year, and then next year you're like, we realize that this does this, and this for our family, so maybe we're going to keep going. So then your why changes. So there's a Zoom call all about why homeschool. Watch that. Or if that's not necessary for you, just start making a list. Why are you homeschooling and what are you hoping to accomplish? Keep that somewhere in a binder, in a notebook, in a journal. so that when you need to make decisions about curriculum and lesson plans and scheduling, you can look back at that why and make sure it goes along with. So I'm going to speed through this. There's so much more we could talk about with each of these. The second thing you need to do if you're brand new to homeschooling is to figure out the laws in your state. I don't ever want anyone to get in trouble. Every state in the United States has different laws, and it makes it a little complicated. Some states, like Texas where I am, we don't have to do anything as far as reporting to anybody. Nobody knows that I'm homeschooling. Nobody knows my kids are, here and learning at my house. But some states require you to register. Some states require you to turn in paperwork, lesson plans, whatever it might be, do an annual evaluation. Those are all very common things. Every state law can be found at hslda.org. That stands for Homeschool Legal Defense Association. It's an organization that is nationwide and fights to preserve the right of homeschoolers and protects homeschoolers. Little blurb, HSLDA offers a membership. As soon as you get to the website, they're gonna be like, join the membership, join the membership. Completely up to you. Membership in HSLDA or anything else is not required, but if you want to go that route, you can. Think of it as like an insurance policy for homeschooling if you needed that. But anyway, I'm sidetracking. Go to hslda.org, I think it's /laws, find your state, read through what are the laws. You do it. Don't ask your neighbor. Don't, look on Facebook to get the initial, impression, but make sure you read them so that you can understand them. They're very simple, simply explained on hslda.org, and that's really important. So first thing you're going to do is pray. Then you're going to figure out why you're doing this and what you want to accomplish. Then you're going to look up your laws, and that is all going to help guide your decisions as you go forward. Okay? Like I said, I'm speeding through this. There's so much more in this. Before you start making those big decisions about what you're going to teach and what materials you're going to use and all those things, the third thing, your why, your laws, your third thing is connect. And if you're in Heart of a Mother, you've done this, you're connected with other homeschooling moms. This is so important. But I also encourage you to reach out and try to find homeschooling moms around you. Type in your city and homeschool moms or homeschooling on Facebook. Type it on Google. Add the word Catholic if you want to make sure you stick with Catholic groups. Find some homeschooling moms that you can connect with so that your kids can have activities and maybe some friends, or at least you have someone to call and ask advice, meet for coffee and figure this out. Heart of a Mother is here for you, and that's kind of what our goal is to be that for people who maybe don't have that face-to-face or next door or in the same town. But it's also important to try to find those face-to-face connections, because as we've all learned during this pandemic, technology is fantastic, but we're missing the face-to-face. There's something about face-to-face, right? So you're going to connect with other homeschoolers. This is also good for getting your kids friends. They can still keep their school friends if you're willing to work around their schedule and meet them after school hours and on weekends and things like that, depending on your reason for, pulling your kids from the school or not sending your kids to the school. But keep that in mind. Connections are really important in homeschooling. If you're doing it in isolation all by yourself, it's harder. And thank goodness for technology, because we can do that even if you live out in the country and have nobody nearby. You can find ways to connect with other people. Maybe it's a phone call or a text message to an old friend. Hey, I heard you're homeschooling. Can you tell me more about that? Maybe it's a lady at church that you've always known. Oh, you know what? She does homeschool. Anything like that. Okay, connect with other people. Then you got to do your research. And most people start with this, right? You're already Googling. What do I do? Homeschooling. How does this work? That's fantastic. But that's like the fourth step. Figure out your why and what you want to accomplish. Look up your laws and connect with other homeschoolers before you dive too far into the research. If you've already all the way dove down to the bottom, that's great. Just come up for air, do the other things, and then do the research. There's lots of good information out there. You need to be a discerning individual and figure out what's going to appeal to you and what sounds right to you, and what your kind of limitations are. There's tons of different styles of homeschooling. There's tons of different opinions on homeschooling, and they're mostly all right. There's not a bad way to homeschool except to not do it or to, you know, abuse your kids in the process, which is not actually homeschooling anyway. So do the research. I have a blog post on my blog, which is heartofamother.net. If you click on blog and you find the post about which curriculum should I choose, there's links in there to some of my favorite places to find information about homeschooling. Pam Barnhill's site has a fantastic explanation about the different homeschooling methods. That's very simple and straightforward. There's a quiz or maybe two in that post that help you figure out maybe what curriculum you would lean towards or what style you would lean towards. But that post has some options for you, and that's one way to get started. But just to do your research, figure out what are the different methods, what are the different styles. If you are homeschooling for the first time only because of the pandemic, download my chart and look for those full programs that you can just pick up and run with. I just don't recommend that if you're not in this for the long haul that you kind of figure out your own thing all by yourself. Find a guide, find something that you can just buy and start from. Maybe you enroll with a program, maybe you don't. That's an option you have. And I'll do another, we've done a couple calls on curriculum specific things, but I'll do another little like who would pick which type of curriculum soon. But you figure out what it is your family needs, what level of support, what level of accountability based on your state's laws, based on your comfort zone. If your kid is brand new, kindergartner and raring to go, you also have all those options, and you can decide how much you want to follow a set plan or how much you want to make up your own, how much you want to take a plan and kind of tweak it to work for you. All those things are options. As you research, the thing you're going to learn really fast is that not everybody's homeschool looks like a school or looks like schooling. It's going to just look different in different households, and it should, because we're all different, right? There's no one way to homeschool. Imitating your child's classroom at home is possible, but if you have multiple age levels and you're imitating what each of them are doing, it is more challenging, as many of you have seen during the distance learning. So you just have to kind of decide, where am I leaning? Nobody can tell you. You should pick this one unless you pay them money and hire them to tell you that, because there's no should in homeschooling. You have to figure it out what is going to work best for your family, with your personalities, with your the time you have available, the different ages, the different priorities, what your plans are in the future. Are you going to continue homeschooling? Are you going to stop after 1 year? Are you just, what ages do you have? So lots and lots of choices, and I know it's overwhelming, but just take your time and go through it. And if something sounds appealing, jot it down. List pros and cons of different options. Consider your finances. Is this something we want to invest how much money in this year? The chart that I mentioned that you can download has that kind of information on starting prices to kind of give you a place to see which is more affordable. Okay, I'm running out of time here. Let's see. And then the last thing you do after you do all that research is you do make all those decisions. Pray about this. Go back to the beginning in your thoughts and your prayer, your why are we homeschooling and what do we want to accomplish, the laws in your state, and let those guide you to make the decisions that are best for your family. God gave you these children, and He's put you in a situation where you are choosing to homeschool right now. That doesn't mean it's going to last forever. Maybe it will, but God has equipped you, and He will give you the grace to make the decisions. Are you going to mess up your kids? No. If you do your best and you pray and you try and you pick something, they're going to get an education, and it's going to be a decent education. So we have to kind of talk ourselves out of the decision fatigue and the deer in headlights. There's too many choices, and just see what feels right. Trust your mama instinct. You know your kids better than anyone in the world, even better than their classroom teachers, even better than they know themselves. And choose what you feel fits in with what you've prayed about, researched, what your family's goals are, and so forth. So I know that that's not as specific as some of you wanted, but if you are just starting out homeschooling and you just don't know where to start with prayer, start with those 5 steps. Why do you want to homeschool? What are your goals? What are the laws in your state? Connect with other mamas, research, and pick your materials. That's kind of how it works. If you need a more handheld specific approach, and you're not going to just purchase a full program or enroll in a full program, then I highly recommend Pam Barnhill's Plan Your Year course or book at the minimum. She walks you through the steps of kind of choosing and creating curriculum. Towards the end, it's kind of, it's fantastic all the way through, but towards the end, I feel like there's a little bit like, oh, but now I have to do all the lesson planning and it's one chapter. So, it's not the end-all resource, but I think it's a very good method to walk you through creating your plan for next year, and I'll be posting about that in the next week. But I'm going to have to pop off, and I just wanted to make sure to jump on and tell you that you guys are going to succeed at this. It's going to be hard some days. It's going to be fabulous most days. Not in the moment maybe, but when you look back and you realize what you were able to accomplish with your kids, the bonding that you had and experienced, it's worth it, and you can do it. Please go back and search through the group for these specific things that I've talked about. Look at that Zoom call on why to homeschool. Go to hsldi.org and look at laws. Ask your questions. We're going to do some Q&A sessions in the coming days to get all these little questions that you guys keep submitting kind of all in one place, and go through that. So do your research, spend time in prayer, and you'll figure it out. I promise you will. Okay, we'll talk again soon.